What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Full Blast. I am your host, Raja Burrows, and this is the next video in the series of why your type is fucking awesome. And as I mentioned in the previous video, the reason that I really wanted to make this series is because you're awesome. I really do believe that. If you're watching this video, it means that you're interested in personal growth. It means you want to be a better person. It means you want to be more robust and bring good into the world. And that's fucking awesome. And I am a big proponent of positive psychology. And I think that positive psychology and the tool of objective personality can and should go hand in hand. In my last video, I talked about the IJs who were the lead blast. And today, I'm going to be talking about the IJs who are lead or savior sleep. So this is a cool one. This is a cool one. So I made the last video for me because that's my lead animal, right? I am a lead blaster. And then now I'm making kind of the opposite video because I'm an IJ who has sleep last. And as an IJ with sleep last, I can feel a little on the bell curve in a lot of ways. Trying to explain to people that I am an INTJ is like the hardest thing in the world. Nobody believes me. Nobody believes me. And then it goes into this whole conversation of like, okay, well, how much do you know about Myers-Briggs? And do you know more than I do? And, well, you're not an introvert. And Susan Cain says that introverts are blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not productive. And lead sleep IJs, like, really don't have that problem. If you are a lead sleep IJ and you tell someone that you're an introvert, everybody's like, yeah, that tracks 100%. Even someone like Dave, honestly, like if you, so Dave is, MF audio, INTJ. So he's sleep, blast, play. So he has that savior FI, which is unusual for INTJs. But, as far as like he's doubling up on his lead function of NI, he's very much an IJ box kind of guy. And if yes, he is extroverted and blasty on the videos for sure, but it's not really hard to see the ways in which he is an introvert. And I bring all of this up because I don't believe that OP can exist in a vacuum, right? Humans do not exist in a vacuum. All of the stuff that we're doing, the way that we define our terms in objective personality, is based on the scale of people, right? So it's like, are you introverted? Okay, well, compared to who? Do you have more savior DE or DI energy compared to who? What's your sample size? And so I do think that there is a legitimate advantage in your self being, pretty in alignment with how other people perceive you. And the reason I bring that up as being such an important thing is that it takes a lot of energy to convince someone else that you're not who they think you are. It takes a lot of energy. Now, maybe the savior DIs don't care as much, as often, who's to say, but like, we are all human, we all want to connect with other people, and when our sense of self is out of balance with how the outside world sees us, it's gonna cause some friction because they're trying to align their perception of the world with you. And so if I, walk into a typical Myers-Briggs group as a lead blaster, I'm doing the extroverted thing. I got the masculine sensory. I'm blast play. I'm boop ba 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 ba. And And I'm like, yeah, and and I write, I remember this happened one time. I went to an MBTI meetup. And this is before I discovered OP, but I wrote ENTJ. And even then, nobody fucking believed me. Nobody believed. They're like, really? You're an ENFP. Like, you're very obviously, you might even be an ESFP because you are so grounded and like they could just feel the masculine sensory pheromones coming off of me. And they're like, you are definitely ENFP, ESFP. You are not a T. You maybe you have NI. I don't know. And I'm like, okay, I don't have the energy to explain this to you. But again, if you're a lead sleep IJ, that part of just being yourself out in the world and other people kind of immediately just accepting like, oh yeah, that person's an introvert. Cool. It just makes for a smoother conversation. And I do think that is an awesomeness in and of itself. On a more type function centric level, what's cool about lead sleep, and even savior sleep, is your inner world is not, it's not just like I've consumed a lot of things and it's this like chaotic fantasy, whatever, right? There is a lot of organization to someone with lead sleep. And when push comes to shove, you are going to have a much easier time weathering all of the nonsense in the outside world a lot of the time. Because if you have really put the time and effort in to be like, this is how I see the world, this is my worldview, this is my moral compass, these are my values, again, whether it's TI or FI, it doesn't matter. Pairing those two introverted functions gives you a really intense, very robust core. I'm going to talk about this more with the IP sleep. But if you look at someone like Stallone, he is a weird glass lizardy type. So he's an IP, but he's sleep blast. Like he has Dave's function stack, but he's an IP. But if you look at him, even so, his sleep is feminine NI and feminine FI, and it is still incredibly robust. Like he has a very clear sense of who he is. He has a very clear sense of like how the world is organized. This box goes here and this box goes here, and here's how to do this for me. It's incredible. And as somebody who doesn't have high sleep, and for somebody who has had to actively work on sleep as an IJ, I really do salute you, because it is awesome to watch a lead sleep IJ who's actually put in the work to really develop the nuance and the this and the that. I want to talk about Jerry Seinfeld. So Jerry Seinfeld came out with a book, and the book is just all of his material over the last 40 years of him doing stand-up. I think it starts with the stuff that he did in the 70s to whenever the book is published. And his process, the way that he writes jokes, he has a big legal pad, yellow pad, and he just writes jokes but he saved everything. And he just put it all into a book. And I bring up that for a couple of reasons. One, because, again, that's a anecdote. It's a little bit of a, concrete example that doesn't apply to everything. But this thing of like, hey, Jerry, can you compile and put together the last 40 years of the jokes that you've written? And like, he's doubling up on his lead sleep. It's NITI. He's like, oh yeah, of course I saved everything. Of course everything is organized. Again, sensory example, but I think it illustrates this idea of just the incredibly robust inner world of a savior sleep IJ. It's so cool. It's so cool. And honestly, it is something that I think the world needs a little more of these days. I really do. Because there is so much chaos in the outside world, and there are so many competing opinions about fucking everything that you need that steady inner core and also the double deciding to just be able to keep putting one foot in front of the other. It really is inspiring to watch a lead sleep IJ go through the world with just this enormous confidence, oftentimes, of this is what I'm doing, this is my path, this is my plan, this is my end goal. And no matter what happens in the outside world, I'm going to keep it pushing. I'm going to keep doing my thing, regardless of the chaos. And that's extraordinary. The lead sleep IJs, in order to actually realize their goals, obviously they will need to work on their play. So what does play look like for the lead sleep IJ? Well, so if you are lead sleep, but even true if you're savior sleep, your priority is going to be your inner world of organization, whether it's NI or SI, and your personal sense of self and significance, whether it is through FI values or TI logic block reasons. And much like with the blasters, right? So the blasters need to do more consume to make sure that they're updating their own worldview, right? And they need to make sure that the thing that they are blasting about is still relevant. For the lead sleep, it's very similar because you do have that OE at the bottom, whether it's SE or NE. But especially the lead sleep IJs, getting outside opinions is really, really important. And the reason that it's important is it will keep you from going off a cliff in a direction that isn't actually where you want to end up. Because by necessity, if you are staying in your lane and you are putting your blinders on and just moving ahead, that's going to be incredibly efficient. But the world does change. And depending on the scope of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, you will need to build in those outside world check-ins. And again, unlike the blasters, where it's like, well, do I still want to be on this path? You're good. You're going to have a much easier time knowing that you still want to be on whatever path you're on. But at some point, you're going to need to collaborate. You just are. If you don't want to run yourself into the ground, if you want, again, because you're going to need to engage with the public at some point. Unless you are a hermit and you want to live that hermit life, other people are at some point going to need to be on board with what it is you're doing. And so if the scope of what it is that you're trying to accomplish is pretty short, okay, great. Work on a thing for a month and a half, then check in with the outside world and make sure that hey, dude, when it comes time to present this to the world and to give this thing to the world, are they generally gonna be receptive to it, right? And again, going back to Jerry Seinfeld, the reason that I believe that he is as successful as he is that the nature of doing stand-up comedy means that he can't stay crawled up his own asshole for too long. He just can't. He has to write however many jokes, work on the material to whatever degree he can and wants to work on it, and then he has to get on stage at a comedy club and just bomb. Like he gets that testing process all the time. And it's incredibly useful. It's incredibly useful, especially for someone like him. Now, granted, he does have some play issues for sure. But again, the reason, I don't think he would have been as successful if he were trying to be a novelist. Because if you're a novelist, just again, the scope of what it is you're trying to accomplish, you're trying to write anywhere from, 70,000 words, 100,000 words, 200,000 words worth of content. And then at the end of, maybe if you have a publisher or you're in a writing group, you can submit a chapter at a time. But that can be tough. It can be tough to build that in. And so all of this is to say, it is much in the same way that it's important for the lead IJ blasters to update their worldview and make sure they want to stay on that same path. It's equally important for the lead sleep IJs to check in with the tribe more often than they think they should have to. That's what it is. It's more often than you think you should have to. Because I promise, doing these smaller check-ins will avoid a lot. Here's the thing. If you guess right, congratulations. But if you don't guess right and you work on this thing and then you emerge and it's already been done, that's a lot of time and energy that you've kind of wasted in terms of your goal of being able to give to the world. Whereas if you build in these check-ins along the way to be like, all right, I've worked on this thing for a month and a half. I like where it's at. I like the direction it's headed. Let me get some outside input. Let me introduce just a little bit of chaos and tribe opinion into what I'm doing. And here's the thing. I may agree. I may disagree. I can still say fuck the tribe if I think they're wrong. 100%. 100%. And some of the greatest accomplishments have been accomplished by people saying fuck the tribe. For sure. But it's important to build those things in, because if you have 5 check-ins, if you have a year-long project, right? And you're checking in with the tribe every 4 to 6 weeks, and every time you check in, the tribe just keeps not liking it, then that means that you need to go back and question your premise. And better to have to question your premise 6 months in rather than a year in, a year and a half in, 2 years in. That now it becomes a lot harder. So again, to my IJ lead sleep brethren, I love you. I appreciate you. I love learning from you, because Lord knows that my sleep last IJ self would do well to incorporate many of the things that come very easily to you. All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will talk to you guys later. Oh, wait. Yes. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. I think I might just record another video and then put them up back to back. I think that could be fun. All right, bye.